This podcast is a proud member of the Unidentified Network.
On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues, and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So, what have we got exciting that's coming up in this episode, Mr. John?
Well, Hennis, it's quite a long story, because today we're going to be meeting my old friend Bill Rigby, who is one of America's leading Sasquatch hunters.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of... Goodness me, what on earth's that? Something strange is afoot.
So, Helga, my dear, what's been going on at St. Weddipan's School of late? Hey, mate, we've had such a jolly time. We had a special guest today. Oh, really? And who was that? It was Bob Carroll-Gees, and he drew a portrait of Boutros Ghali on the sole of his slipper with a biro.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's try again. Good afternoon. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of an organisation called the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. For those of you who are not aware, and I hope lots of you aren't aware, because that means we're going to have loads of newbies joining us, On the Track is a show which I present every Saturday afternoon at 3 for about half an hour, and every Wednesday evening at 6:30 for about half that, and it covers a mixture of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What, dare I ask, is surreality? Well, I know what it is, but do you know what it is? If not, I think you're going to have to ask her.
Well, I have the wisdom of the ancients, and I know that surreality is a way of subverting the way that one looks at the world. And what is the point of this? Don't ask me, I'm only an ancient fertility goddess.
And now I want to introduce you to this week's special guest. Like so many people recently, I met him through Daniel Barnett two groups, the Mythical Legends podcast and the UK BRT. All the way from America. It is the charming, the effervescent, and the fascinating Bill Rigby. So, Bill, how did you get involved with Bigfoot hunting? What enthused you into it in the first place?
Well, when the Patterson Gimlin film came out, I was interested in it. And I did some research on it, a little bit that was out there at that time. But it really didn't show much, if you know what I mean. So I kind of, kept interested, but didn't really see much into it. Then now I was just a young kid. And growing up, I started going out in the woods hunting and all that. And then adult life took over. And going out hunting, it got really, really interesting because I hunted different states here in the United States on the eastern side: Ohio, New York, West Virginia, Virginia, of course, Pennsylvania, where I live. And I started thinking, wow, these tree structures are all the same and very interesting. And, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's causing this? So, the one and few times I decided I like the internet, other than just doing a little bit of research, I start looking up what these tree structures might have meant. Well, it kept leading back to Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, well, I start watching some YouTubes. Now, this was about 5, 6 years ago. And I'm watching these YouTube things and I'm thinking, wow, okay, possibility. Well, this one I start watching, he had supposedly Bigfoot living on his property. But every time he's out there filming, every time a Bigfoot was going to come, camera goes off. I'm thinking, oh, this is all BS. Well, I found out we got hoaxers out there with this stuff now. Now, this is then. But I got on Facebook and I saw it saying different Bigfoot groups. So I joined a couple of them, met up with some researchers, and that just blew up on me. I had to find out. So, from childhood till then, it was just like, okay, here, there, whatever. But 5, 6 years ago, that's when it just really took off on me. And as I put it to my wife, this is one of the most expensive hobbies I ever had. um, I have gone out on several investigations and research areas with a couple little groups. And I keep saying, we need DNA. We need DNA. I found trackway structures. We found some hair. Some people said they got stool samples. Well, I'm not messing with that stuff. but and I kept saying, DNA. Well, it's going to be 3 years this August. I was at Salt Fork State Park in Southern Ohio, and it's supposed to be a hot spot for Bigfoot. And I'm thinking, that's cool. I'll go to the camp out that I was invited to, even though I'm not going to see anything. I just want to hear that's supposedly the Ohio howl, because I never heard it. Well, the first night there, I met this Mike Bennett from the SoSpeak group that's having the camp out. And my friend Debbie Preggy, she came to the camp out. And he says, come on, let's go ride around. I'll show you some places around here and we'll do a little bit of investigating. Okay, I'm down for it. That's why I'm here. Hear stories and figure this out. We rode around certain places and finally come back to camp. It's just getting dark. And Mike says, let's go down the Buckeye Trail here. We'll go in about 90 paces, check things out, listen, see if we see or hear anything. We go in 90 paces, stop. Another stone tossed up to us from the left side. Turn around. That was it. So we took another 90 paces. I'm looking around, I'm listening. Here comes another nut or stone up from the left side. Now that's interesting. Someone's messing with us. I even said that to Mike. And he just, maybe. Uh, we go in another 90 paces, same thing again. Debbie said, I don't want to go any farther. I'm starting to get scared now. I said, well, I'll go down to 90 paces. You stay here with Mike. Mike carrying a gun, so you're safe with him. We go in at 90 paces. I knelt down on one knee. She gave me her little scope, pocket scope she had, and I started doing this with it. And out of the corner of my right eye, I saw a little movement. I turned and looked. 15 feet from me, inside the tree line, it was leaning in, looking at me. That close. I got scared. Like I'd never been scared before in my life. Excuse me. So we turn around. I stood up, it stood up. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I never knew. I'm 65 now, so I was 62 when this happened. That 62-year-old can run pretty fast backwards without looking and not falling down. And I get back up close to them because it is getting dark and it's darker inside the wood lines, of course. And I'm yelling for them to turn lights on. I'm going, lights, lights, lights. And they go, finally, Mike realized what I was saying, and he turned his big light on. He shined it off toward the woods because he seen the way I was looking. And he goes, I go, you see it? You see it? He goes, oh, I saw Bigfoot's ass. And I stopped. I looked at him, and now I'm hyped up. I mean, I'm bouncing, and that's not me. I don't get scared that way of anything. And I went, what did you just say? He says, I saw it going down over the hill. I saw its backside. And I went, oh my God, okay. So we calmed down a little bit. He says, want to follow? And I went, no. No. No, I was close enough, thank you. And I can still see it plain as day right now. Had long, dark, not real long, dark brown hair, but long hair all over. It didn't have the big conical shaped head. It had more of a rounded head, had a boxer's nose. The color of the eyes, I couldn't tell you because I wouldn't look directly in the eyes. I looked around it because from all my hunting skills and that, if you come across a predator, you do not stare them down. And to me, that was a predator, big time. And when it stood up, I saw about where it stood up on that tree, but I saw the trapezius muscles were huge. It had the boxer's nose, the muscle tones in the chest and the arms were awesome. And I'm backpedaling. The skin tone of the skin I saw was darker brown than the hair itself. And the hair was dark brown. The next day we go back down, me and a group of guys. I wasn't going by myself because I was still pretty shook up. Took a tape measure, measured up alongside the tree. And I got about how tall it was where it stood up next to that tree where it stood up at. And it was around 7 foot. But 4 foot wide, 7 foot high, big, scary. And I ended up with PTSD. And that's how I had a hard time getting over it for a little bit because I've never been scared like that in my life. I've been in the service, been in some really bad situations. I wasn't scared. I was down south. There was a rival gang having a shootout with a little boy in the middle of the street. Sitting there, too scared to move. I ran out and snagged him up, carried him off. I wasn't afraid. In the fire department, serious structure fire. I was inside. Everything started collapsing around me. I was not afraid. That scared me.
Wow.
And that's where my PTSD came in. And because I never felt fear like that in my life. And when people say, "Oh, I can't wait to see one," I can honestly say, be careful what you say and ask for it, because it could be a situation like mine where you might not be able to deal with it. But I had several people keep coming to me, talking to me about it, and working with me to get over being scared like that. And they say, start talking about it. And so that's what I've done in the last 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. Like you, I do a podcast now. But to top it all off, I'm not so keen on the DNA end of it, Jonathan. I really ain't anymore. I know they exist.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't need no scientists to tell me, well, we need DNA to prove they do. No, I know that's good enough for me. What I want to know is what they do, how they do, why they do, when they do it, and how often they do it. Stuff like that. Um, that's what's really interesting me. I I need to find this stuff out, and that's why my research has gone full tilt. You know, I covered the cryptid and paranormal and UFOs, all of that, but my main interest is Bigfoot. Um, I've seen a UFO, I've seen a ghost. That stuff don't. I like it. It's interesting, but not as much as the Bigfoot world, because they're so elusive. There's so much more mystery behind them than the rest of the stuff. Even though there is mystery with the rest of the paranormal, cryptid, and all that, but this one's really, really got me hook, line, and sinker. Might as well say. Um, we found trackways, like I said. We found different tree structures, which I try to debunk everything when it comes to Bigfoot. I'm not one to go out in the field, everything's Bigfoot. No, there's so much more out there in nature than we know of, and what can cause stuff in that. And I've learned, how to track at an early age for hunting. I've learned different things about the woods that I put into doing my research now and my investigations. But I still want to try to debunk everything that's being presented to us that we can see and try to figure out, like these tree breaks. Weather can do it. As the arches, which is, we call horizons from these trees, that could be weather related too. It's the ones that you got to study it close, check it out close, and determine whether weather related, animal related, even human related, and then you can say it's a possibility a Bigfoot done it. And that's where a lot of people right away say, "Oh wow, look at this tree break. That got to be Bigfoot." No, take a look at it. It's a rotten limb.
Yeah.
You see where it rotted from the inside out. So no, and stuff like that. They just automatically and I'm not going to go on my normal tangents of everyone sees Bigfoot everywhere, and they red circle it. If you got a red circle it, it's not there. It's pareidoia. And I used to try to say that to people, but they get very offensive about it. So I don't say nothing. I just roll on by. Let them think what they want. I've done, I don't know, in the last 3 years, I know I've done probably 100 investigations of Class A sightings. And probably another 100 of Class B sightings because they heard the wood knocks or they heard howls. And we go in and do the research of the area and investigate. And one Class A sighting that my friend Debbie Preggy has been investigating is a local small farm. The farmer was coming back down to his house with his tractor coming down from the upper field down the trail, and a Bigfoot crossed in front of him.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little studio, says, don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you'll miss the new episodes. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
These might look like ordinary, everyday people, but they're not. Let's take a closer look. I'm filling my tomato harness with talcum powder on the moon. Back seats for keep a welcome in the hillside. Cherry ripe, cherry ripe. I live inside of a crab with Rip Van Winkle and the Patty Cake Man. Yes, they were all wazzocks. You can tell wazzocks by their general waz-tardedness. So remember, think once, think twice, think wazzock.
That was a public information film.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching it. We're going to be back next week with the second half of my long and happy conversation with Bill Rigby. What have I got to say now? Well, I want to say thank you to all the people but for whom this show wouldn't have been made, at least this particular episode wouldn't have been made. I want to say a big thank you, of course, to Bill Rigby and to Richard Freeman and to V. McCrinnan, but for whom it really wouldn't have happened. And I want to say a big thank you to my producer, Louis, who's still rampaging around the southern states of America trying to reenact his favourite scenes from Gone with the Wind. He's even bought a white suit like Mark Twain. However, he'll be back at some point, and he's still, even at long distance, doing a remarkable job producing this show. And I want to say a big thank you to Graham Inglis, who is the Deputy Director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology and also my carer, which means he's the guy who wheels me around in my wheelchair, gets me up in the morning, and gets me in and out of hospital when I need to go to hospital. And by the way, you'll see I'm not wearing a sling anymore, and my arm isn't bandaged up anymore. I've got one teensy-weensy little dressing on, and even that will be gone by Sunday. So by the time we watch this, hopefully it will have gone. And the really exciting thing is, although my hands still feel numb, I can move them so much better. And when I got back from the hospital yesterday after having had my stitches out, which didn't hurt at all, much to my surprise, just as an experiment I picked up my guitar, and guess what, I can play chord shapes again. I'm not a fantastically good guitar player, I'm nowhere near as good as I once was, but at least I can play the damn thing again, which is very, very nice for me. And hopefully over the next 3 months, because they said it'll take up to 3 months for me to get my full mobility back, I'll be able to play the guitar better and better, which will be nice, because I miss playing the guitar. And all the music I've made in recent years has always just been done on the computer, and the only analog thing in it has been my vocal. So it's nice to hopefully be able to play guitar again, because I miss it. I also want to say a big thank you to Miss Helen. She's on holiday this week, but Miss Helen, who looks after my house, she's our new housekeeper, and she's an absolute poppet. And I want to say a big thank you to Miss Guinevere, who is the assistant director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, does all the administration, and looks after me in ways that truly mean that along with Graham and Louis I wouldn't function without her. Thank you, my darling, I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to be back on Wednesday. Guess what I'm doing on Wednesday? I'm going to be bringing you an update about the weird case of the dead giant tortoises in a wood in Ashcliff's Forest, just up north of Exeter, and I'm also going to be bringing you on Saturday, like I said, the second half of this show. But are you listening, Mr. McCrinnan? Because if you're there watching the show, Mr. McCrinnan, and if not, why not? I'll be there doing the live chats and the notifications and all the other stuff I do. And if you're there watching it, I'll be seeing you.